All right, coming at you today with a barn build. It's been a minute since we've done one of these. Since having kids, I haven't put as much time towards the barn. There's been some things that need to be corrected, and the biggest thing right now is gonna be this wall. It actually pulled off the studs right there. The studs pulled off of this beam because me, put it together really poorly first. So we're gonna do it correctly this time. So basically what needs to happen is all of these boards have to come off. The pull-up bar has to come down up to this cross beam right here. And then I have to reframe that wall, and then we're gonna put it all back up to make sure that pull-up bar is in a good spot. I like having this other pull-up bar here. I thought about putting pegboards there. I have one there, which is at one height, which works out really well for me, and one here if it works for a normal heighted person, somebody who's a little bit taller. So we've got a little bit higher pull-up bar over there. This has been one of my best friends since I lived on a boat in 2014. One thing I am proud of myself for doing is marking each board to know which one goes where, because left to right on this wall, right to left is not the same as you go up every 6 inches with these beams just being super old. So marking which board is where is essential or they won't fit. So we're just gonna number these as we go up the wall to make sure they go back in the right place, one at the bottom, up to the top, whatever number we finish at. So now comes kind of the real question. Do I try to take this pull-up bar all off assembled, just myself? So start undoing the big lag screws and try to gently lower it to the ground, or do we take the pipe out and go one by one? I don't know what I want to do. The stupid part of me says that I should probably just pull this whole thing off assembled. So just start taking lag screws off, and I'll be able to hold on to it while I'm on the ladder and let it come down. That's probably something I would have done before I got married, but now that I have been married and I have somebody reminding me that I'm not allowed to get hurt anymore, we're probably gonna take this pipe out and then take those pieces off one by one. Something I rarely use, but should really be using anytime I do something like this. Honestly thought that was gonna be a bigger pain and it wasn't, so this is the right move. All right, we've got all of the boards off and most of this area down here cleared out. There's just some spray foam on there. There's some dirt, there's some extra stuff. It's an interesting wall, right? There's no like easy solution for most of these walls because of the way that everything's built. So like this is only gonna be from this board, which I would like to use to secure some studs to here is only 4 inches. And I kind of have about 6 inches down here for the base plate. So I have a 6-inch board, and I think that'll help to kind of give me a little bit of wiggle room at the bottom for if things don't quite match up here. I'm gonna have a little wiggle room to be able to move things in or out or just shimmy them around a little bit. It probably won't be perfect how I want it, but that's what we're going with for now. So I got to make some cuts to get everything straightened out and then drill some holes down there in that concrete. All right, we got everything pretty much flush here, right where I want it. And now we're gonna try to drill into concrete just with my impact driver. With these, I'm gonna have to start with a small hole to put in some concrete tap screws or Tapcon screws to attach this board to the concrete ground. So I'm a little worried that I don't have the proper tool for this. I'm hoping I can drill 1 or 2 holes and get to the diameter that I need to secure those or anchor this base plate to the concrete. These are what I'm using to put those holes in the concrete. I'm actually really impressed. I thought this was gonna be a little bit harder. Started small with a pilot hole and then made some jumps, and we're gonna go up to these 2 today. And I have to make those holes about, it says a 1/2 inch deeper than the actual screw or bolt or whatever you want to call it. So I'm at 3 inches, so I got to get at least 3.5 inches down. Plus there's going to be some of this bolt that is stuck in the beam. So if I'm just covering the length of this actual bit here, it's going to be more than enough. So that's what we're doing. All right, so we've got that base plate in. It is not the 2x6, it's a 2x4. The 2x6 was having too much problems, or I was having too much problems with it. The concrete is super, super old, and I was breaking concrete either when I tried to put the concrete anchor in or drill the hole, which would leave a big gap underneath the board. And because the concrete's so wavy, because it's so old, the width of that board, there was just high spots, low spots, way too many of those that was causing the board to kind of jump around. So it was way easier to get the 2x4 kind of strapped in there. I'm not going to have as much wiggle room as I wanted, but I think that's going to be just fine. So now we're going to frame the rest of this in. I've got one 2x4 going all the way up to the top. I've got that kind of poked out a little bit from the wall because that beam up there is actually recessed, and I'm going to see if that looks all right. We might have to change that at some point, but very sturdy on the bottom. We're going to get some studs ran up. They're going to match up with this middle piece just right. I might have to put a few spacers in there, but it's going to be good, nice and solid. I'm really happy with where this is at right now. All right, we're all framed up. So I could have built this another way. I could have actually built the whole wall on the floor and then tilted it up and secured it in place against the wall. But I didn't do that because of the varying heights that everything was going to be. I really wanted to kind of get things in place one thing at a time, knowing that I was going to have to make some extra cuts. I was going to have to do a little bit of wiggle room with everything, and I didn't want to have to do that when or after everything was kind of set up, where it would be very hard to tell kind of what I got wrong or what was a little bit uneven. So I'm happy with the way this turned out. I was able to bolt everything into the center beams there as well, bolt or screw, I should say, into that cross member there. So I feel good about it. I might put in one more behind there, like on this bottom piece right here. But everything feels pretty secure, pretty in place, and I don't think it's going anywhere. Now I am going to start insulating some places as I go in and replace some wall and put up some new wall, and we're going to use rock wool for that. And I'm using rock wool because it handles water better. So it's water resistant, it's fire retardant, it muffles sound better for everything that's going on in the gym to not get blasted outside. And the big one there is that it just does better with weather. If you have regular fiberglass insulation and that gets wet, it's going to sag down in that cavity. It's going to sag down in the cavity there. If it gets wet, it's just going to kind of fall down and probably rip off of the paper that you're stapling the side of the fiberglass to. So we're just going to do away with that. I'm going to try rock wool. I've used it in a couple other places and I like it. You just kind of lay it in and it squishes in there. And you can kind of put some tape or maybe a staple here or there, but you don't really need to. And that's what we're going to do next. All right, we're all done there. So we got the insulation in there. I know what you're thinking. There's spray foam that's already in there, but that spray foam was really to act more like a vapor barrier. So to stop water from getting in, to stop wind from penetrating. It seals up really tiny cracks and it works really well for that. It's going to expand in all of the small joints and all those kind of things. But it's very expensive to say fill that whole cavity with spray foam. Way more expensive than I wanted it to be to do this whole thing. And the rock wool, I think, does probably a little bit better job of deadening sound. So now that I've got something there to kind of prevent wind from pushing through and rain from coming in and those kind of things, I feel better about putting some insulation on the other side, which is going to give us that much more of an R value. I think we're probably going to be somewhere close to R20 on every wall that I do this to. So as I continue to kind of go around the place, like this wall right here, pegboards have supposed to have been going up here for a long time now. So I'm going to have to peel off some boards on here, make sure that that's framed in a little bit stronger to put pegboards on. And when I do that, I'm going to slide the insulation in behind just like that one. I'm really thinking about getting the man cave from Rogue Fitness and putting that actually right here instead of these fold out racks, either here or I'm going to put it over there, which means more stuff has to come off the wall, which means I'm going to layer in some more insulation there as well. And slowly but surely, we'll get this whole place insulated a little bit better and it'll hold some more heat during the wintertime. All right, so unfortunately in my three pieces, I couldn't get nearly as close as I wanted to. So I've still got a 4 5/8 inch gap there. And odds are that's gonna be a little bit smaller than that number, and a little bit larger than that number is actually gonna be the distance from the bottom of the last board to the top of my framing piece up there. That board's probably gonna be a little bit wavy, a little bit not cut straight, because that's what this wood is. It's rough cut lumber. The tool that I really need is called a scroll, and I don't have one. So we're just gonna kind of go to 4 5/8. See how that lines up top. If I really don't like it, I'll come back another day and do it again. Ooh. I like it. So we're gonna leave each one of those with a little bit of wiggle room in them to thread the pipe through. You don't wanna tighten everything down first and then have to push that pipe through where things might be just a little bit off. Those holes might not line up for the pull-up bar. So if you leave yourself just a little bit of wiggle room, you can move those brackets around a little bit, make sure that pipe gets threaded through nice and easy. Once it's through, tighten everything down and we're good to go. All right, we're up. I still got to cut a little bit of that pipe off the end. Obviously, we're hanging over the edge, so I'm going to cut that off at a later date, but moment of truth. All right, that's it for today. Everything Dan Bailey is down below. That supports the channel, supports my family, supports all that good stuff. Give it a look, find a program, find some coffee, find something that you like, and we will see you guys next time.